So welcome to Seen and Solved, the podcast where we share real challenges and the thinking behind how we fix them. I'm your host, Tim Pennington, and this episode is part of our special series where we are going behind the chemistry to explore the people, processes, and purposes driving Hubbard-Hall forward. Today, we're going to talk about lean, not just as a methodology, but as a mindset. I'm joined by Chief Operating Officer Aaron Mambrino and Lead Consultant Bill Greider to discuss how lean is transforming the way Hubbard-Hall works, serves customers, and creates lasting impact. From the shop floor to the front office, it's all about working smarter, not harder. So let's get into it.
You're listening to the Seen and Solved podcast, brought to you by Hubbard-Hall. Better results, less chemistry.
So Aaron and Bill, welcome to our podcast today. And first of all, I just wanted to give us a little bit of background, each of you. Chief Operating Officer, I think we know what that is a little bit, but tell us all that you do there at Hubbard-Hall. And then Bill, we're going to talk about what a lean consultant does just to let our audience know.
So I oversee all of the operations, procurement, production, supply chain, finance, most of the back office functions, as well as the operational teams that support our customers and get the products out the door.
Yeah, I've been a lean consultant since 2012. And my thought is to be able to help companies implement some of the lean strategies that I implemented in my own chemical company.
I did read that you had your own company for a long time and implemented lean, correct?
Yeah, we implemented lean starting in 2001. And I left Duraflex 2011.
The first question I want to ask, because I know there's people think lean is one thing and it's probably another. I know I've had companies say, we're going to downsize, we're going to get lean. It's not what it means, I'm sure. Explain to us, Bill, what your definition of lean is so people get a clear understanding of that.
Great question. I define lean as a growth strategy. I think it's a strategy to make us recession-proof by doing more of the work customers value and less of the non-value-added work, or what we call the 8 ways. So we try to use every employee in the company to identify and eliminate waste in terms of minutes, hours, work weeks of waste in their everyday processes.
Aaron, let's talk. What first prompted Hubbard-Hall to get into thinking about lean?
Hubbard-Hall had a lean program in place for many years. And over the last few years, we lost some momentum there with employees departing the organization and new people coming in. It was good timing to revive that and have a fresh start to it.
What would be the first step you did in trying to revive it? What's the first step in this process of getting it all started up again?
So we looked at what was the best way to drive lean throughout the organization with employee ownership. And I called Bill. I had a past with Bill from a former chemical company that I worked with, and knew he was great in lean practices and driving lean through cultural transformations in organizations. So reached out to Bill, and we came up with a plan on how best to approach driving lean improvement, lean culture at Hubbard-Hall, and rolling out a program here that would be impactful.
And again, as Bill's definition of lean, which is eliminating waste as much as you can. So how would you define that lean in context of what Hubbard-Hall is doing? I guess, is it looking to speed things up a little bit, eliminate waste? How would you all define that?
Yeah, it's looking at pain points every day from the perspectives of people doing the work. So where do they have pain in their everyday processes? How can we capture that and eliminate it? How can we make things more efficient for our employee base, which ultimately brings value to our customers?
Bill, let me ask this question real quick. As Aaron mentioned something, every day. How does lean operate in every day? It's not something, I guess, you write down on paper and you look at every 3 months to see if you got there, right? Is it an everyday process that they're doing?
It's definitely an everyday process because, I think the implementation is really of the Toyota production system more so than just lean tools. And really the Toyota production system is about respect for people. And the idea there is that it's disrespectful for me to fix your job. People know what's slowing them down, what's making them stop, what's making them, what aggravates them, or what, in my Italian half, what gives them agita. And I think that as people become confident in the process and start doing it more and more, then again, they'll find more and more of those things that frustrate them in the course of their regular workday. And it's disrespectful for us to fix their process. So that's where the everyday comes in. And we're getting there. We're getting there.
It seems like you're getting input from everybody in the operation, from the person doing maybe not in the C-suites, but you're getting it from everybody, which I think does improve the culture a little bit, that they have a voice and things.
I think culturally, one of the biggest things that wears us down as humans is the silos that get built over time. And by having cross-functional teams working on improvements, because people can't always make improvements in their own work without someone else's help. They might need maintenance or quality or IT or...
Exactly. Yeah, they have an ownership, they have a say. That's interesting. Yeah. Talk about early on, what were some of the biggest mind shifts that you had to kind of tackle early on?
I think people understanding that lean is a way to help them become more efficient. It's not a way to eliminate any work that they're doing or value that they're bringing. It's really to enable them to be more efficient. So helping them to understand that they can be part of that change and that they can impact our processes and have real impact that leads to our customer. So that value creation that employees can be a part of was the big shift. We're not looking to eliminate jobs. We're not looking to reduce headcount. It's really to help us grow and grow more efficiently, which brings value to our customers.
I'm working on an article with a big shop up in Michigan, and they were telling me, I think they called it Gemba, which, Gemba walks. And they were explaining to me that when they started this, management kind of got behind it. They didn't really explain it a lot to their employees. They have over 100 and some employees. And when they were going around asking questions, everyone got nervous. They didn't really know what was going on. So did you all do that? Did you kind of send out messages, or how did you let people know exactly what you're trying to do and how they were going to be involved in it, so that, like you mentioned, you're not looking there to cut jobs or anything like that, but how did you get employees to understand and to buy into what you all were saying? Was that something early on you had to do?
We started talking about that even at the CEO level of the organization. So sharing out the intent of lean, why lean is important to us. It fits into our values here at Hubbard-Hall of being better, being reliable for our customers. So helping our employees to understand why lean and what the impact is that lean can have for them. So we did go out with messaging, and we started right away with Bill conducting trainings on an A3 process. So really a Kaizen process here that would help them to improve their process, make their everyday work more efficient.
And then just to add on, we handed out an index card to every employee asking, if you own the company, what's the one change you'd make in your job right now? And every single, then they responded, put their name on it. And it's never self-serving. It's never selfish. It's always something that slows them down, gets them in the way, frustrates them. So right away, we always start with Kaizen, and then we can get into the tools and we can get into some other aspects of lean, but getting everybody engaged. And we got quite a healthy number.
So Bill, we use the term Kaizen. Can you give us a little background of what that means and how it's used in manufacturing?
Yeah, Kaizen is a way of saying change for the better. It's in terms of suggestions, for example, people have ideas on how they improve their own processes. Is there a process in place in the company where people can hand in a suggestion and get it implemented? So basically, Kaizen's a way to get what's on the tip of people's brains actually into implementation quickly.
Time frame wise, Aaron, when did this start? Was it how long ago did you all revitalize this? Just to give us a time frame.
Yeah, so we kicked off in February. So we haven't been at it for long yet, and we've already had 50 improvements that we've closed out.
Can you give us an example of specific where lean has made a measurable difference?
I would say the most measurable is on-time shipment. So we had some issues where we were falling short of our metrics with on-time shipment, and really pulling a team together, defining the problems, and putting in place solutions for those problems has had the most impact. So we've been able to, just in this short amount of time, hit our metric last month. So we were very excited about that for our customer base, making sure we're getting our customers the product that they need timely.
3 months that's a pretty good turnaround time. But like I said, to get and to start seeing improvements, right? I mean, that's a pretty good time, even though it's been very short. But that's hats off to that. How are employees engaging in the lean process? How are they doing? I know you said you started off asking them, give them a card. How are they doing it? How are they engaging in this whole process on a daily basis?
Well, right now, I think there's 40 or 45 temporary self-directed work teams, 3 to 5 people each on each team, all simultaneous, working on different problems that people see in all locations. So I think, the approach has been, usually it's starting in one facility. Usually I have, and Aaron, I've been working with Aaron since November, just plotting this whole strategy out. And we kind of hit every single location. So there's a ton of improvement activity right now. So there's a lot of participation, either people leading improvements or being on a 3 to 5 person team. And they all last, between 2 and 4 weeks right now. And we're going to get faster at them.
Nothing's perfect. Let's talk about, because I'd like to know how you overcame some resistance or challenges that you may have had. Were there any? Can you kind of describe them? And then how did you overcome those?
I haven't seen a lot of resistance to it. I've seen a lot of people excited about it and embracing it. Some of the hesitancy, I think, has been in terms of closing out the A3s and presenting to the entire employee base here at Hubbard-Hall. So when we do these Kaizen closeouts, the employees that are leading the Kaizen will get up and they'll present on what their results were of the Kaizen. So there's been a little bit of reluctance there. And what we're trying to really focus on is encouraging those employees to feel comfortable and share these improvements that they're making, because that's how we learn as an organization and increase our learning. So I haven't seen a lot of resistance. In fact, I've seen a lot of excitement and engagement. I'm getting emails. I just got one yesterday from an employee who's saying, I want to be a bigger part of Lean now. So it's definitely becoming contagious here, and people are excited about it and they want to drive improvement. They want to be a part of making things better here in the plant as well as for our customers. So it's been pretty exciting. Bill, would you add anything to that?
Yeah, I think, even in a company as strong as Hubbard-Hall, the biggest hurdle is always going to be, when everyone in the whole company spend 10, 15, 20 minutes working on the business versus in it. So it's the only hurdle, not a hurdle, but the biggest obstacle is to try to build routines in where people, all these 45 teams, have time between Monday and Friday afternoon, to meet with huddles, multiple huddles a week. So that's always a challenge, is because people are busy, and to overcome busyness, establishing a routine is the biggest hurdle. Once those are established, then you just add more routines.
Overall, it's all geared towards improving customer service. And how does it improve it? I guess, we talked about turnaround times and meeting delivery times, but how does it improve overall customer service?
Yeah, we're in such a dynamic, changing world, right? With technology, the pace of technology changing, and AI, introductions of AI now, and what AI is doing for business and transformation that's occurring. So the way I see Lean really is enabling us to grow, and not grow at a pace that we say we've got to add the same amount of headcount as our growth rate is, because that doesn't allow us to be competitive, and our customers don't want to pay for inefficiency. We can't charge the customers for 15 minutes that we spend pulling product and putting it away. It doesn't bring value to them. So how do we look at ways to create value, drive improvements, and make sure that we're eliminating the waste, ultimately to bring the value to the customers? So that's the way I see Lean.
I see it very similar. I think, I don't want my customer to do a lot of work. For example, every company in America and the world has problems always, and occasionally you get complaints. And how fast can you respond? And Lean is really time management. How quickly, what our customer-facing processes can we delight them? And one of them is, with corrective actions, things like that. And We've just recently had, if it's an average number of days, say 20 days to, get corrective action closed. Aaron and I were up in Michigan a few weeks ago, and we were able to kind of get to a conclusion in 3-4 hours, maybe. That's the power of it, is taking the same thinking and pointing it towards all your customer-facing processes. How long it takes to get a sample, how long to get a quote, how long to answer a complaint, and how fast are they getting their deliveries.
It's funny, you mentioned something earlier, both of you, about having employees work on their jobs a little bit more, or taking time to have them work on their jobs, even though 10 or 15 minutes instead of in their jobs. And as managers and leaders of the company, I guess sometimes you can shudder a little bit about that. You want people producing, right? But how does leadership play a big role in sustaining these lean efforts? Because there has to be time for that, correct? Instead of people just churning out work and things like that, but actually taking time to look at how we can improve, right? So how does leadership getting on board and sustaining those efforts?
So leadership here at Hubbard-Hall is actively involved in the A3 process. Even at the CEO level, we have our CEO involved in some of the A3s that are running right now to show the importance and the impact that these A3s have. It's important for our leadership to be involved. So that's one way I see it, is we're making the time. Everyone is busy, as Bill said, and busy sometimes can be the enemy, right? So how do we free up that time and show the employees that even at the top level of the organization, this is important to us, and we're freeing up our time and getting involved in those improvement initiatives.
Bill, from your end, how important is leadership really sustaining everything with this?
Well, I think it's like the accelerator or the gas pedal or the brake, in terms of the lean journey. And I saw that in my own business. Once I got hands-on and more of a coaching role and not as a manager role, once I learned how to coach and ask open-ended questions and encourage people to get together, show up at the closings, the Kaizen closings that Aaron referred to, then things got accelerated. If I just told everybody, hey, lean's important, and I went off and did what I did for 10, 15 years before that, we didn't get a ton of improvements. So the more engaged I am, but not as a manager, as a coach. And that's what I'm seeing here now. Aaron from day one has been one of the best Belichick caller.
I think one important thing we're doing is celebrating as leaders the improvements that are being made. So we're cutting out time. Usually it's about an hour a month, running 2 sessions where the employees are presenting their results from their Kaizens, and we're celebrating those as a team. So I think that goes a long way as well, not only being involved in the work and showing them and modeling the way, but also celebrating the successes that they're able to achieve.
But like you said, if it doesn't get shared with a lot of people or applauded and high five, these are things that need to happen to keep it going, I guess, in that realm. Yeah. As we wrap up, let me ask you, each of you a quick question. What advice, maybe 1 or 2 nuggets, would you give anybody else in manufacturing who is thinking, should we delve into this? What kind of tips or advice would you give them if they're contemplating doing this?
From my perspective, lean drives a cultural transformation through empowering our employees to be leaders in the organization, to drive change, identify pain points and drive change. And that to me is paramount in establishing a culture and a high culture of engagement, enthusiasm, loyalty. It's the most powerful thing I think a company can do if it's executed the right way.
Bill, any advice you would give someone thinking about starting out?
I'm going to add right on to what Aaron said. Toyota production system, build leaders, then build cars. So the focus is on every employee, the people that come every day. They're smart, they care deeply about the company, and it's about a process, Kaizen, where we can build leaders. And I don't mean titles, but build leaders, then we build cars. So the focus is on leadership, building leaders throughout the business in every single aspect of it, every shift, every location, and continue to build leaders.
Leaders is not a title. It's like you said, on a shift, someone can be a leader there, and you want them to be a leader. and you want other people to mimic that when they see it. So yeah, that's great advice too, right?
And I've seen incredible leadership throughout the business in every location too. Incredible.
It's been so inspiring. This is the one change that I see with bringing Bill in and utilizing Bill to educate us and train and coach us through this journey has been the inspiration that it brings to watch the people who are on the shop floor level every day, and they're processing and moving material out to our customers, and they're making changes. They're seeing things that are slowing them down, are stopping them in their process, and they're raising it and saying, we need to change this. They're pulling teams together and they're finding ways to change it. And then to watch them get up and present on that, it's really inspiring. And to me, that's the most impactful thing that we're doing in this journey. We can drive value for those customers. We can improve processes for those customers. But at the end of the day, it's really about them, about the employees who are doing something bigger, than themselves.
I can see real value in, my own business. We had about 1,800 customers, and, we would bring them in and teach them lean, because they all have businesses. Your customers all have businesses, and being a subject matter expert, on how to implement a cultural lean strategy, I think is something that it's definitely a benefit that your competitors aren't probably going to do. I think there's real benefit in people learning how to do it properly. They're all business people.
Yeah, I mean, it's the number one concern I had that came up when I survey a lot of shops. I do it in December. What's your biggest concern? A lot of it was supply chain. They weren't, they were getting delayed in getting products. They really had a hard time dealing with their suppliers and those type of things. And if you I think open a small window to say, we hear you. We are trying to get as best as we can, and by doing that, we can here's what we're doing to do that for you. And I think that would go long ways to even, either building the trust or continuing that trust, because it is top of mind for them, very much so. It's a transactional relationship. They need you to send them things, and they need to know that it's, that you're working on getting better or improving, and that you are, you're concerned about them as well. And I think that's something that really will resonate with them. Aaron and Bill, I want to appreciate you taking time out and sharing this with us. And hopefully we'll have you on later again, and after, down the road to even get talk about some of the other great changes that have taken place. So thank you both for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening to Seen and Solved by Hubbard-Hall. For more episodes, visit hubbardhall.com or wherever you get your podcasts. Be sure to like and subscribe, rate and review, and join us on social media. Produced by Awcast.